Hi Facebook Live, I'm Kendall, and today I'm going to be talking to you. I was really encouraged by a section in this book I'm reading by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's called Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. And she's talking about how sometimes we take ourselves too seriously, and it's very like, I must, and intense, and like there's so much burden and pressure and performance on ourselves. In my case, to sort of be the hero or be the savior character or save humanity or make a change or make a difference in my world. And I've always been attracted to madness, sort of the characters that were living sort of in defiance to societal structures and societal rules. For instance, the character of Feste the Fool in The Twelfth Night, Shakespeare's play, who sort of, hey diddle diddle diddum in the fiddly, sort of makes these rhymes as commentary on the happenings in this crazy play, in this crazy world. Hi, Rebel! The character of Ophelia in Hamlet, who kind of goes mad, and maybe even, you know, the Mad Hatter or even the Joker in Batman. Like there's something that was always attractive to me about these fools and these madmen, and I think it was that they didn't seem to buy into the system, and maybe because the world had broken them down and it had been all too much for them. But whatever reason that they got there, they were almost at a place of freedom. They were at a place of kind of not giving a darn. And so even like street people, like homeless people that have the ability to stand out on the street corner and hold a sign saying in total humility, like, I have nothing, and they have the strength to ask for what they need, honestly. And I think maybe in their lives it comes from a place of desperation, a place of lowness and brokenness. But I always have some kind of honor and some kind of respect for people that, hey Jake, people that are sort of disconnected from following the rules of social norms. And I guess this video is about sort of being able to laugh and being able to not take yourself so seriously and being able to approach problems with a playfulness and a silliness even. I was watching my friend Salt's video the other day, hello, and she had some technical difficulties at the beginning of her video. Something wasn't working with the sound or something, and so I think a lot of people are like, oh, sorry. Oh, shit, I should have gotten this set up better. I'm sorry, guys, hurry. Well, just a minute now. Right, making excuses, over-explaining ourselves. And what she did was she laughed. She laughed because it wasn't a big deal. And in her sort of laughing at the situation, laughing that things were out of her control, it was a way that she could release her own tensions or potential anxieties and choosing freedom over fear. And in doing that, it was a representation and really a good teaching lesson for all of the viewers. A new approach to handling things that are out of our control. Because let's face it, a lot of things are out of our control. And so using humor and giggling and childlikeness and playfulness to sort of accept things and embrace change and possibility and exploration and experimentation. So sometimes suffering, oh, sorry, my cat's like eating or drinking my water. Hang on. No, that's mommy's. No. Evie, say hello. Hello, Evie. Call her Evie because she looks like the little Pokemon character. You'll appreciate that, Jake. But yeah, like, I think sometimes like suffering is really like glorified in our society, like artists, like the suffering artist, like, why is being tormented and messed up and suffering like this kind of cool thing? Like, why can't we live jobs that we enjoy? Like, as a Christian, why can't we have pleasure in being who we are and pleasure in serving, because we're not just like hunkering down like martyrdom. We're like playful kids that are just like enjoying the heck out of our lives. Like that, well, you see, there's this equivalent, people tying together like pleasure and promiscuity, or suffering with like virtue. And that's just not the case. Like we cannot say this equals that, because yes, while there is suffering in life that is unavoidable, and God is powerful and good enough to even bring good out of that, but I don't believe that a place of suffering is where he has us. And I believe that there is immense pleasure in joy. There is immense pleasure in being who you are and living your life's purposes and helping others and doing what you're created to do. So let's not glorify martyrdom. There are true martyrs. See, like this is why it's confusing and why people get confused, is because it's like the yin yang symbol. There's a little bit of the light in the darkness and a little bit of the darkness in the light. And so people kind of think, oh, like all of this equals this. So I want to read for you this little passage from Big Magic, the book that I was reading this morning. And it kind of, she uses these two ideas of sort of the trickster, which I would equate to that playful, fun, not taking things so seriously, as a way of moving forward, right? As a way of taking a baby step. And Rebel, you really encouraged me on this when we were chatting last night. Because if we take it too seriously, then sometimes we get into perfectionism. We're like, well, when I move forward, it's going to be this way. And like, for me, like being free in my expression at church on Sunday, like, well, I want to run around freely. I want to laugh. I want to scream and shout freely. I want to dance over other. Like I have these really, really idealistic high goals. And sometimes that stops me from just showing up to church. Like just show up and, like you said, Rebel, just do one thing, right? Just small even, but don't quit. You know, there's something about persistence. So anyway, her little words here are the martyr and the trickster. And I don't love the word trickster yet, but I appreciate aspects of the playfulness. So with that disclaimer, let me read you this quick primer on these two approaches to life. So the martyr energy is dark, solemn, macho, hierarchical, fundamentalist, austere, rule-following, judgmental, unforgiving, and profoundly rigid. And sometimes I find in our Christian cultures we kind of are controlled by this kind of thought. And then the trickster energy is light, transgender, and I like that word because every human being possesses sort of feminine, and I don't have the hands to do this right now, but feminine energies and masculine energies. And I don't even like those adjectives because they're just qualities. They're not explicit to a man or a woman. For instance, myself, I have a side to me that is very caring and nurturing and gentle and soft. And I guess that's technically my feminine side. But men have that too, and it's gorgeous in men. And then I have a side to me that is fire, that is unrelenting, that is brave, that is a warrior, that is mountain climbing and strong and intense and adventurous. And I guess that's technically my masculine side, but it's me and I'm a woman. I'm fully woman. Generalized classifications, absolutely. And actually, Jake, since you're on here, I'll take a moment to just encourage you. Hi, Karen. Karen, you are so smart. I forgot what you wrote the other day, but it was so good. It was just so, oh, you were talking about yoga. Yeah, you were, the question was asked, does yoga belong to one religion? And you just killed it. Like you were like, yoga has to do with union, a yoking of mind, soul, spirit, and body. And so any religion can kind of use this tool as a way of coming together or yoking, and we use it as a communion with Jesus Christ and intimacy with him, but you could use it to worship another God or whatever. So I thought that was really great. So back to you, Jake. Like Jake was the worship leader at a church I used to go to, and he was / is, still is, just so awesome because he would allow his emotion to be seen. I loved it. He was so passionate about it. He is so passionate about God and his love for Jesus Christ and the realities of salvation that he didn't allow himself to be suppressed or controlled by the norms of sort of jaded, oh, this sounds so bad, but I'm just going to free talk here. Almost jaded Christians who are so used to what God has done. Yeah, Jake! And so he would almost get this cool screamo punk rocker excitement in him. And maybe he didn't know this at the time, but he was acting out Shabach, which is the Hebrew praise word for sort of this holy shout. And there's a lot of different vocal praise variations in the original Hebrew language. Like if we look through the Psalms and in other parts of the Bible, praise expression is so diverse and so wild. And if you have the martyr idea, if you're this martyr character where you're like, that doesn't fit my rules. Well, those are your rules, buddy. Those aren't God's. And yes, there is a divine order to expression, but it's God's order. And if you look into the rainforest, every tree is not exactly the same, groomed in perfect triangles to man's ideal standards. We gotta let God be who he is. In the rainforest, there's all these trees and they're all different, and there's little interesting creatures that can only live in certain trees, and there's breath in the rainforest because there's all of this greenery life. And I want freedom in our churches. I want them to be like rainforests. So anyway, Jake, I just wanted to, since you were on here, I just wanted to take a minute to hi Kristen, to just kind of applaud you and encourage you that you weren't behaving in the way that all those other men and even women were, and that was good, and that you were making a difference and making a change and being a positive representation of who God is in his expression, in his physicality, in his enthusiasm, exuberance, joy, and passion. And maybe other people, maybe they could or could not see the God in you. Maybe they were blind or not open-minded enough, but I see it. God knows it. And so I just acknowledge that in you. And that was something I always appreciated about you that encourages me, just your tender heart and your ability to be who you are. So thank you for being who you are, Jake. Okay, back to this idea of the martyr, sort of this rigid idea of being an artist or of being a Christian or of being a human being. And then they call it the trickster, which is more of a playful energy that's light, sly, transgender, transgressive, primal, and endlessly shape-shifting. So what I like about I already explained what I liked about the transgender aspect, which is the feminine and the masculine energies that are within each human being. But the shape-shifting is beautiful because it allows a process of, hi Sadie, it allows a process of, gotta tune into these more often, have a great day. Oh, you're welcome, Jake. Yeah, I've been putting these out. I started doing them like 2 days ago, and I'm just so addicted, like it's in the best way. It's so fun, and it encourages me to learn and to grow so that I can share with others. So thank you, bye. Okay, so the shape-shifting aspect is what allows one to grow, what allows one to sort of reinvent themselves. Now, people get sketched out by this because they're like, what do you mean reinvent yourself? Aren't you yourself? And I mean, people freak out with change and with the idea of new possibilities, but see, we need to try new things. My friend Austin always talks about originality, and we have this whole kind of cute, not argument, but he loves originality as much as I love authenticity. And he believes that authenticity sort of comes out of pursuing or being original. And I think of it inversely, that you're focusing on being you, naturally you'll be an original because you'll be accessing your trueness, and everyone is original. So but anyway, it's kind of cool. But with that being said, with one of his things on originality is he's like, try things, like experiment, try being new, for me, like try wearing my kimonos, try dyeing my hair purple, which I did. Like, you may not have that vibe forever, but like we're shapeshifters. We're constantly growing and evolving. And we can tend to be stuck in ruts based on other people's expectations of us, like our families thinking that we're a certain way, and we can allow that to truly hold us back. But so anyway, just to encourage you to press forward. Okay, so back to these two ways of life, the martyr and the trickster. So the martyr is like really severe and intense, and I can tend to get into this very justice-oriented vibe of, I will sacrifice everything to fight this unwinnable war, even if it means being crushed to the death under a wheel of torment. Okay, so this could be just being yourself, just the process of being free enough to be yourself. And the trickster says, okay, you enjoy that. As for me, I'll be over here in the corner, just doing my own, just kind of playful. And the martyr says, life is pain. The trickster says, life is interesting. It's weird. I'm curious about it. The martyr says, the system is rigged against all that is good and sacred. And the trickster says, pick any card. Like, so he's just almost out of it. He's out of the rigor of social norm, and he kind of like doesn't care. He has this lightness to him. The martyr's like, no one will ever understand me. The world can never be solved. Through my torment, the truth shall be revealed. So everything's like on him, on his shoulders, on him, the pressure, the burden he's carrying to be the savior, to be the hero character in the story. And the trickster's like, I didn't come here to suffer, pal. So this idea of life can be joy, life can be pleasure, life can be enjoyment. It doesn't have to be this heavy, crazy, intense thing. Hi, Kelly. The martyr's like death before dishonor, and trickster's like, let's make a deal, let's play. So the martyr always ends up dead in a heap of broken glory, while the trickster trots off to enjoy another day. And so I just want to encourage you to choose joy, to choose silliness, to choose playfulness, to not be so hard on yourself. If you make a mistake, like, that's great. Like, who cares? Like, like, it's silly. Like, there is no such thing as failure, because every time that you try, that you take a little step, that you move in the direction of authenticity, of releasing aspects of who you truly are, you succeed. And even if such and such thing didn't work out, maybe it wasn't meant to work out. Maybe its role in your life was to serve you in an aspect of exploration in who you are on your path. Do you see what I mean? So all things can work together for the good, and just persevere. Don't stop. Don't quit. Can't stop, won't stop, So anyway, just to encourage you to get out of that attitude of like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, oh yeah, this didn't work out, because like over-explaining ourselves, like, we don't need that. Like, and when you release yourself from sort of that apology, guilt mindset, now there are times to be sorry. There are times where you should own if you did something wrong, right? But many times we don't even do something wrong, and we apologize for it. And many times we apologize for being who we are. And that's not good for the other person. See, the lie is, oh, that's nice of me. That's loving for me to apologize for that. But actually what's most loving is to not be so hard on yourself, because that's going to allow other people to release and be nicer and tender to themselves. And so actually you see how you're doing the most loving thing by not setting a precedent or a pattern or a path that says, oh, if my audio or my video isn't working, I've got to like vigorously apologize and feel bad and get stressed and show anxiety and worry. Whereas if you can just go, oh man, it's so funny how not tech savvy I am. You'd think I was 90-something years old. I mean, it's just hilarious. You see, and so you can be a little playful with it and let yourself go. Let yourself release a little bit and not be so worried. Not take it so hard on your poor self. It has enough to deal with. So anyway, I hope this was encouraging, and I love all of you guys. I hope you have a day of rest this Sunday, and hope and freedom. Bye.